It's easy to see why some people think that meditation encourages narcissism, a fascination with your own feelings, a fascination with your own thoughts, your own breath, as if that was all that mattered in the world. And it's not helped when the meditation is reduced to a certain formula, a certain technique that again just focuses on what you're feeling, what you're sensing. As if that were all the word of the practice. It's very easy for people to come to meditation and just say, well, what's in it for me? And not run into much that discourages that attitude. So it's important to reflect on a phrase in the Buddha's teachings on mindfulness, that when you're contemplating the body in and of itself, or feelings, mental qualities, states of mind, you do it both internally and externally. In other words, it's not just your body, feelings, mind states, mental qualities, but the bodies, feelings, mind states, and mental qualities of other people, other beings. And in contemplation here, it's important to remember the original meaning of mindfulness. It's not awareness. If it were awareness, there'd be a problem. How can you be aware of other people's feelings? How can you be aware of their mental qualities? You'd have to be psychic. And even then there's a question, well, what use would that be? Mindfulness doesn't mean awareness. It means to keep something in mind. As in that old phrase, to be ever mindful of the needs of others. You keep other people's needs in mind. It means you remember them, you hold them in mind. And the same with mindfulness practice. When you're focusing on the breath, you are mindful of the breath. It means to keep the breath in mind. The actual awareness of the mind, that's something that comes with sampajanya. And so when you reflect on your body, it's also important to reflect on the bodies of others. Make comparisons. The same with feelings. And the other foundations are establishings of mindfulness, the other frames of reference, to counteract our very unskillful ways of making comparisons. In other words, thinking that we're better than other people in terms of our body, or worse than other people in terms of our body. They're more beautiful than we are, younger than we are. That's being worse. Or the people who say, well, I'm better than other people from another race, just because of the color of my skin. That's a very unskillful kind of comparison. I've got a better mind than other people. I've got a worse mind than other people. These are forms of conceit that the Buddha says are really unhelpful. Ways of comparing that either make you proud or make you discouraged, neither of which are useful emotions to bring to the path. And as you reflect on the different ways the Buddha has you think about other beings and compare themselves, compare their bodies and feelings and minds to yours, it's important to note that it's mainly the emotional reaction, the attitude that develops as you learn how to make useful comparisons. But you can develop some extremely important, very helpful emotions if you make comparisons in the right way. For instance, in the very first set of reflections on the body, there's a whole section where the Buddha has you reflect on the fact of the different parts you have in your body, starting from the nails, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, all the way into the innards. Then as you reflect on other people's bodies, to realize that if you were to base your superiority on your body, exactly where is your liver superior to someone else's liver? Where is your skin superior to someone else's skin? It's all the same kind of stuff. As he once said, whoever would, on the basis of a body like this, considering all the things that are in the body and all the things that flow out of the body, whoever on the basis of a body like this would exalt himself and disparage others, what is that if not blindness? So that's one purpose of this reflection, is to get a sense of dispassion. Or you can reflect on dead bodies. And as I said, you realize that when you see a dead body in different stages of decomposition, you realize that's the fate of this body as well. If it doesn't get cremated right after death, then it's going to go through those stages too. That gives rise to two kinds of feelings. One is a sense of heedfulness, realizing you don't know how much more time you have. You don't have all the time in the world for anything. You've got a limited amount of time. You want to make the best use of it before this body, too, lies on the ground, like that one over there. It also gives rise to a sense of samvega. This is the fate of all bodies. No matter how much you might think you'd like to be reborn, better looking, taller, stronger, whatever, every body eventually deteriorates in the same way. So those are some feelings that arise when you compare your body with the bodies of others, or you contemplate the bodies of others in a skillful way. A sense of dispassion, sense of heedfulness, sense of samvega. There's a similar principle with feelings. As you go through the feelings that go through your mind in the course of the day, you realize there's a lot of pleasure, there's a lot of pain, a lot of ups and downs. And when you can reflect on the fact that other people have the same kinds of feelings. You like your pleasures, you hate your pains, they like their pleasures, they hate their pains. And as the Buddha said, when you reflect on that fact, one, you realize that you wouldn't want to harm them in any way. You feel compassion for them, for all the suffering that they go through just like you do. It's something we all have in common. And when you go through intense grief, intense disappointment, the Buddha has you reflect on the fact that other people have met with the same things, the same grief, the same disappointments. The world is not dumping a load on you and you alone. Think of all the people in the world who are losing their loved ones tonight. Meeting with disappointment tonight. If you're suffering from that kind of loss, that kind of disappointment, it's helpful to reflect on the fact that you're not alone. It helps you get away from that particular grief, either with a sense of equanimity, a sense of dispassion, or, as the Buddha says, to replacing the grief of the householder life with the grief of the renunciate life. The grief of the householder life is that you're disappointed in the things that are happening to you. You're upset about them. The grief of the renunciate life is that you realize that you haven't yet reached true happiness, you haven't yet reached nirvana, you haven't yet reached the goal. There's work to be done. The second grief is better because it at least gives you a sense of direction, how to get out of all this. Helps to replace grief with pasada, a sense of conviction that there is a way out, even though you haven't found that way out yet or haven't reached the end of the way. At least you know there is the path. So we reflect on the feelings of others, contemplate the feelings of others, keep the fact that other people have the same kinds of feelings you do.